Hello, and welcome back to And Then We Fought a Dragon.
And then we fought a dragon.
I'm Des.
And I'm Becky.
I almost said I'm Becky, but that's
Nice.
fine. Welcome back. I'm excited to jump into this episode.
Yeah.
Because last week I was holding my breath on the edge of my seat. And yeah, excited. So I'm going to go over what happened last week briefly.
Sure.
Then Becky will give us the lowdown, and then we'll discuss. I feel like a jazz pianist.
Nice. Cool.
Anyways, here we go. So, last week on, you guys are in the Feywild. Well, you're for sure, 100% you are in the Feywild. Not just like, oh, we're in the Feywild. You went on a little neighborhood tour, unintentionally, but we love those.
Yeah, it was fun.
You went on the SGW.
The small giant worm.
The small giant worm. I genuinely, after the fact, I was like, I forget what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but I forget what it means. But now I remember. You went and did some retail therapy at the request of Selwyn. And you all got like super cool walkie-talkie bracelets.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I'm excited to see, even if, what happened in this last session doesn't involve them totally, I'm excited to see how they come in handy.
Totally.
And then on the opposite side, you got bad vibe mirrors. Not excited to see what those involve at all.
Yeah. Little creepy.
A lot of creepy. I don't know why. We discussed this last time, kind of like, why do we feel so weird about them? But
I mean, probably partially because they were all really dark fortunes, which was based on the role that people did to get them. But even so.
Anyways, I guess we'll see what happens. So let's hear it.
Alrighty. This one, it felt like a little bit of a shorter session when I was typing up my notes. So I guess there was just some conversations happening that are a little hard to take notes on, but it was still a fun time. So like you said, we were in the creepy mirror shop. We were in Maggie's glass shop when we left off last session. And as we started off the session, Maggie was kind of like, hey, did we ever do a round of introductions? Why don't we introduce ourselves? And so we all know her, obviously. And then Selwyn and Caelynn introduced themselves. And Caelynn started asking for more information about the games, which was one of the suggestions we'd been given to get enough money to leave.
I did not even take a note about that, but that was a pretty big point. There was these potential games you could get. Well, those are for sure happening. Potentially, you guys could be involved.
Yeah, because there's a pot to win from, and we need money to get ourselves out of the Feywild. So Caelynn wanted a little more information on that, and he was kind of asking, so is it a fight to the death? What kind of games are these? And she was like, well, sometimes, not so much anymore. Sometimes it's a display of strength to impress the game masters and showing off different skills that you might have. But even if you do die, it's not a permanent death. They have clerics on hand who will revive you. They're not just gonna kill you. It's still games. So we're like, oh phew, okay, that's good.
I guess that's better than permanent death, but still not ideal.
Yeah, no one wants to die, but at least if you're gonna die, someone else will raise us. They're not just gonna leave us on the field.
I'm sure some people do want to die, but whatever.
Well, yeah, maybe. We won't go there right now, but
moving on.
So that made it a little more appealing, knowing that it wasn't a permanent death kind of intensity level. And someone kind of asked how we'd go about signing up for it if it was something we were interested in. And Maggie told us there's this Bureau of Entertainment downtown, and usually it's teams of 6. We're a party of 5. They might let us do it as a 5, or they might just ask us if we wanted a random player assigned to our group or something like that. And the winnings for first place are pretty significant money, good stuff usually. And then the other places you can get some magic items and cool things. So even if you don't win, we might get things that we could sell for money if we go into other places.
Helpful items nonetheless.
Yeah, or the items themselves might just be useful enough to want to keep, kind of thing. And as we're kind of having this conversation with Maggie, Ava uses the charm bracelet to remind us that, like, maybe it's not a good idea to give personal information to Faye. Just, like, maybe don't give our names away. And so the rest of us did not introduce ourselves. Selwyn and Caelynn were like, well, mostly Selwyn. I don't know if Caelynn cares. Selwyn was like, oh, shoot, rats. Oops.
Karen's like, maybe I should be regretting this, but for some reason I don't at all.
Probably. So after that, we kind of like closed up the conversation and left the shop. And as we left, Selwyn decided to try and message her mom using the charm bracelet, just to kind of like maybe see what's happening over there in like the material plane and how much we need to like get back immediately. So she checked in with her mom and got no reply. So we were wondering, like, maybe does it not transfer across planes? Do you have to be on the same plane? But Ava said no, she'd messaged Dave, one of the boys in Corinthia, earlier. Dave! Yeah, Dave. She'd messaged him earlier. Sorry, I just need to pick something out of my eye because there's cat hair in there. And it hurts.
It's like little tiny slivers when you have hair
really, every time you blink, it's like slice. Yeah. Anyway. So Ava had messaged Dave to like suggest that maybe he try and get in touch with some of the higher ups at Corinthia and suggest they send some people to El Alenor because like El Alenor is presumably under attack. And in the 13-word limitation of these charm bracelets, of course. And he had replied to her. So it doesn't seem to be a plane issue. There's some other reason, we know not what, why Selwyn's mom has not replied. So that was a little concerning because obviously there's potential for bad reasons that would be happening. But we had to move on with our plan for how to get out of the Feywild. And I had mentioned at the last episode and the last session that I might have an idea for getting us out. And so I presented this to the party as an option if we didn't want to do the games, but like the games sounded kind of fun, honestly. So maybe we do want to do the games.
It's kind of feeling like the games, I think we touched on the games felt like Hunger Games, but now I'm getting the sense of like Harry Potter.
Yes, I think that's more appropriate. Or even like Harry Potter blended with the Olympics, seeing as it's teams. I don't know, but yeah. Goblet of Fire lines up a little bit more than Hunger Games, thankfully, because Hunger Games are scary.
Yeah, I like the problem solving elements. Not that you've even touched on what this is all in my mind. I'm taking over. Everything's in my head now. Okay, moving forward. So, your idea.
Yes. So we each started our game with a magic item, and my magic item is a robe of useful items. And on my robe of useful items, there are patches that I can pull off and they become the thing that is on the patch. One of the things I have several patches for is gemstones that are worth potentially, based on a die roll, up to 100 gold. And so if I pulled enough of those off and they were worth enough, we might be able to get the money to buy a plane shift or a teleport spell to get ourselves back to the material plane. So that was an option that I presented, but again, like the games kind of sound fun, so we could do the games if we wanted to. And completely expectedly, Kieran was really gung-ho about wanting to try the games. He really wanted to stick around and give it a go. And Selwyn and Quinn were like pretty into the idea too. They were like, that sounds pretty fun. Quinn is literally a fighter, and with some of her backstory, she's participated in some like fighting rings, basically. So like competitive fighting, essentially. That's her vibe. So she's pretty into this idea as well. Ava wants to get back to the material plane ASAP. She's not super into the idea of hanging around and playing some games.
I feel like Ava has a secret.
I mean, she has a reason to really hate the Feywild because it stole her hair and her eye, but yeah, I don't know if there's more to it than that.
I'm really concocting a whole nother level of intrigue with every single character. I'm like,
there's potential for everyone to be bad and mysterious. So Ava didn't really want to stick around. And I suggested, like, maybe we could try the games. If we don't win, my gems could be a backup plan.
Yeah.
And then, like, at least we have a slightly more guaranteed way of getting money. But if we win the games and get the money or whatever, then we still have these in our back pocket if we need them at another time. And certain spells and stuff even use gems. So gems themselves can be quite useful.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much everyone was on board with this. Again, Ava's still not super gung-ho about it, but she's willing to consider things.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to contemplate, like, whether or not we want that 6th player. And do we want one randomly assigned? Do we want to go try and convince someone to be our friend and sign up for the games with us tonight, because the games are tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or do we want to just try doing it as a team of 5? And we were considering that, but we wanted a little more information about the games themselves. We still don't really know a whole lot about them. So we considered splitting the party for those who play D&D. Always a bad idea, but we considered splitting the party and having half of the people go to the Bureau of Entertainment to get more information about the games and signing up and stuff. And then half of us go, like, try and find a spellcaster, figure out, like, how much an actual cost for a teleport spell would be, how easy it is to arrange.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, Ava also suggested, like, I do have this gemstone in my eye that maybe I could sell as well. And we're all like, I don't know if we want you to have to sell your eye. Because, like, obviously there's some trauma associated to that situation. We don't want to have to go there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good for everyone to have to make a sacrifice, but she's literally already sacrificed something.
Yeah,
so
she's already lost her eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we were kind of concerned about, again, the time thing in the Feywild. Do we have time to stay for the games?
Yeah.
And the games only take place over a single day, but even that could, with Feywild time changes, go super wonky. Like, we never know how long you've been away. It could be hours, it could have been weeks, etc., according to the rumors, at least. We don't actually know that. So Quinn was like, hey, what if I message Braylee and ask when we last saw her? And then we can see, like, how long we've been away for, from our experience of time and from the material plane experience of time. Great idea. We love it.
Refresher on who's Braylee?
Braylee is our little innkeeper friend in Corintha.
Right.
One who brews crazy drinks.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So in our mind, we last saw her just before we left for Ferris and then teleported to El Alenor.
Yeah.
And in our mind, we've been away for 3 days. We did Corintha to Ferris, Ferris to El Alenor in 1 day. We spent 1 day in El Alenor. Then the second day in El Alenor, we got sent to the Feywild. So we're currently in day 3 for our lived experiences. So we messaged Braylee, or Quinn messaged Braylee, rather, and was like, hey, we're stuck in the Feywild. When did we see you last? And reminded to tell her 13 words. Like, there's a limit on how many words you can have in your reply, or we might not actually get the point of the reply. And
well, actually.
Exactly.
And then the last thing, no clue.
Filler. Yeah, but she told us we had been gone for 4 days. So there's currently been an additional day between the material plane and the Feywild, which, like, a little bit concerning, but not, like, super concerning. 1 day isn't necessarily a huge deal.
Does that mean the ball is in 3 days?
I mean, possibly. Also, I suspect our DM might just move the time frame of the ball so we can have it.
Okay.
But I don't know. I haven't really been keeping track for how long away it was supposed to be. I'm not sure if it was 1 week or 2 weeks. But it's definitely getting closer.
Okay.
I don't want to miss it.
Yeah. I'm very distracted by you getting to the ball, but
yeah, we need a party.
But there's a lot going on presently, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 1 day didn't seem too bad. Ava was getting a little more on board with the idea of the games and spending another day here if it just went a little wibbly wobbly. And someone popped back in the shop to talk to Maggie and just be like, where did you get that plane shift teleport spell that you got when you went to the material plane last time? And Maggie said you can just get them at the travel center. They have people there. They will do it. They will teleport you wherever for a certain cost. And we might even get a group discount. So yay for group discounts.
Love it.
And so that took care of the where to get a teleport spell. We no longer really needed to split the party on that one. And so at this point, Ava's like, okay, I think I'm on board with the games. We have an idea for where to go to get a teleport spell. Games aren't going to take that long. Let's give it a go. We can leave tomorrow night if need be. So we went to the entertainment bureau and took the subway again, the SGW. Yeah. The SGW. And as we got out, it's kind of a shorter building across the street with like posters of athletes doing feats outside. And there's like these illusionary ads that are kind of like videos of athletes doing cool things, hiding and shooting and running and whatnot. So that was pretty nifty. Mm-hmm. And we headed into the lobby. And as we walked in, there's like a Feywild Starbucks essentially to the side. We decided to name it Celestial Silver, both with S's, so it's like a little SS logo. It was real cheesy. Nice. It was rough, but someone was like, "Yo, guys, I need crazy Feywild coffee." So you go over and get in line. There's a desk with lines over there. She sends us to get in line. She's gonna go get coffee for everybody. And she came back with coffee and some cookies. It was an amusing experience that I don't know in character with the Starbucks employee in the Feywild. And as we got up to the front of the information desk, there was a elven lady who greeted us, and we just asked for more information about signing up for the games. And she gave us a brochure. And the brochure told us in big letters that the prize this year for first place is 500 gold, which is well enough, hopefully, to cover a teleport spell for us.
Yeah.
So that was good news. And second prize is the team members' choice of magical items from kind of a set armory. Mm-hmm. And third is a deck of many things, which out of character is a very dangerous item. It has, I don't know how many cards in it, but cards that complete magical things and can potentially end the world or like can grant you wishes. So it's very polar opposite for whether it's good or bad. And as soon as you draw it, it happens. So it's just a risk. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So out of character, I'm not a big fan of decks of many things. In character, I don't know if I know what they are. So we'll find out if we get one.
Oh my gosh. That's a big gamble. Like if you're playing,
yeah,
you definitely don't want to get, well, I mean, somebody might, but personally, I would not want to get third. I'd rather just get nothing.
Yeah, I think there's prizes for like first to fifth place.
Okay.
But third place scares me. So don't want third place, but that's cool, whatever.
I mean, maybe that's a good incentive, right? To just work hard.
Yeah. Gotta win. No options.
But it's not even necessarily gotta win. Gotta not get third.
Yeah, true.
Which is essentially
fine.
Is the same thing. Different perspectives, but just don't get third.
So we'll see how that goes. But there was also no entry fee, conveniently, because that was another thing we were worried about. If there was an entry fee, it's not worth entering because we're short on money. That's the whole point of the shebang.
Yeah.
So we asked about, like, can we sign up tomorrow and try to find a sixth person to join us before then? And she's like, well, you can, but you have to sign up by tonight at 8 if you want team jerseys made. And we're like, heck yes, we want team jerseys, obviously.
Yeah.
So she gave us some contracts to read over and sign. And we decided, we don't want a sixth player. We're going to just be the five of us. We don't want to risk having to split winnings. We don't want to have to rely on a random person. We're just going to do it as five. So we checked all our contracts. Because again, Fey contracts can also be kind of sketchy. So we read the contract very carefully. This was a large portion of session, making sure that the contracts were...
I was literally before you even said it, I was like, did anyone actually read it? I hope it was thoroughly read. What if you sign it and you find out that if you lose or get a specific position, you're stuck there forever?
Yeah, slaves to the crown or something. Yeah, so we vibe checked the contract. We read the contract as carefully as we could. It was written in Sylvan, which again only Selwyn and Ava can read. Yeah. So they read it out for the rest of us, and it did seem okay. It confirmed that they will revive people who go unconscious. They're not just gonna leave you for dead and whatnot. And so we felt comfortable signing it. We all signed the contract. And as we handed them in, a guy came to ask us about jerseys and what team name we wanted it under. So obviously we went with the team name Bones Bois because that's our group name. And then we were like, can we choose the colors for our jerseys? And he was like kind of rolling his eyes a little bit because we were really enthusiastic about this, and literally like handed us a paper of a coloring page of a jersey and was like, there's some ink over there. You can do the designs that you want. We're like, yes.
That's hilarious.
So we were like, well, what colors did Bones wear? Bones wore a lot of beige and a red bow tie. So we went with beige jerseys with like baseball tee style, like the cut off sleeves with red sleeves and a red collar. And then on the shirt, it has Bones Bois written in like really fancy cursive writing, framed by glitter. It's beautiful and sparkly. And then we had to design a team logo, obviously. And when we fought a battle with Bones, it was against the 2 young green dragons. So we were like, well, Bones, dragons, dragon skull, obviously, with crossbones behind it. So we have a pretty epic team logo. If we do say so ourselves.
I like the like those aspects of like creating your experience.
I desperately want this shirt in real life now. I know it's probably a pretty unattractive shirt, but I really want it.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yep, we were pretty pumped. So we handed that in, and the guy was kind of like, oh boy, we'll do our best, okay. And told us that warm-up is at 7 in the morning, and game start at 8. So we need to be on time. And then we had to figure out like what we were doing overnight. Because, again, we're short on money. And hotels and inns and things probably cost some money. And Caelynn was like, hey, I have this thing that can give us shelter for a long rest. And he has this magical item that like popped up a tiny little, not exactly a house, it was like a dome thing that we could all hide in, and it like protects you from the elements and stuff.
Like little yurt?
Kind of. Yeah, it was like a color. It wasn't an actual building, but it was enough that we could get in there and have a long rest. So thank you, Caelynn. That was pretty cool, pretty useful. And we kind of did a little bit of planning. We were mostly Caelynn was curious as people were prepping spells for the next day. I was like, hey, Selwyn, I know you're a pacifist and all, and this definitely isn't like pressure either way. But does the pacifism still count in like casting damage spells when it's games? Or is it just like when it's a real fight, like when we're actually trying to do damage? And she wasn't sure. She was kind of, I think, mulling that over herself.
So let me reflect.
Yeah, I think it's something we'll discover in the moment as she like feels the permission essentially to maybe do something. That. Yeah, so that could be exciting, potentially. And then it was early morning next day. We had to get off to the games, and we'd been told that they would be taking place in the park where we initially arrived, where we had the neighborhood tour. So we head over to the park.
Good thing you had that neighborhood tour.
Good thing we know our way around now, except that we don't, because a massive stadium now takes up the entire park.
I mean, maybe subconsciously it's deep in there.
Yeah. Overnight, this has been presumably magically erected, and people are streaming in to watch as the spectators. So we head inside, get our jerseys, and we're given like a team warm-up room kind of thing to wait in. And there's this sort of mini fridge thing in it that has potions, which are free for us to take and use, which is handy. There was 5 regular healing potions and 2 minor restoration potions, all of which would be very useful. So we took them all because heck yeah. So we each have a minor healing, and Selwyn and Ava each have the minor restoration because they're typically our healers. So they can dole it out. And as we were also kind of getting settled in that room, they told us that no armor is allowed. We couldn't bring our own armor. We had to leave it in the warm-up room, kind of like to even the playing field.
How rude.
But that we'd be being provided with like generic leather armor.
Oh, so not awesome, epic dinosaur like.
Wrong campaign. In my other campaign, I'm gonna get some dinosaur armor.
Yeah, let's just a little hint if you want to listen to
that
campaign.
Dinosaurs.
okay, so you can't use your cool,
Yeah.
but this is like the first opportunity of you potentially, knowing that you could be using it.
I know.
How disappointing.
But also, some of our party members literally don't have their own armor, so being provided with the generic armor is good for those people, because like now at least they have some armor.
I guess you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, even playing field makes sense. Like then at least somebody doesn't have crazy buff armor and will never be able to hit them, kind of thing. So we were okay with that. We put our own armors aside and got on the generic stuff. And when we had signed the contracts, you could either choose to use your own weapons that they would look over and approve, or you could ask them to provide you with weapons. And so a few people had asked to be provided with weapons or shields or something, and were given those, and the rest of us had our weapons checked over to make sure there was nothing weird about them, I guess. Certain magic abilities they seemed fine with, but I guess some stuff is taking it too far. But we were okay, so that's good. And then Selwyn did a quick prayer as our cleric, just to kind of ask her homie, as she refers to Eldath, to look out for us. I don't think she's ever referred to Eldath by her name. She's always just like, hey homie, and just does her little prayer, which is great. It's super chill.
That's funny.
And then she cast motivational speech over us, which gave us advantage on a few things that we might interact with in the fight, and some temporary hit points and health that should be useful. So that was nice. At least we got a little bit of buff there. And then we headed out onto the field for the opening ceremonies, which was very exciting. They were announcing the teams as we left. We didn't get much of a cheer, which, like, people don't know who we are yet, apparently. Hopefully we'll get a better cheer when we win. Yeah. But we headed out. All the other teams joined out as well. And there was a bit of a welcome and whatnot. And then they kicked everything off, and there was confetti, and a big cup rose from the center of the field. And they're like, okay, we're going to draw to see what the first event is. And they asked for team captains to come forward. So we nominated Selwyn because she's kind of our team captain. Really, our party captain at this point. Mm-hmm. And Kirian tried to nominate himself as team captain, but Selwyn noticed and just was like, no. And the rest of us were like, yeah, I'm sorry, you don't speak for us at this point, Kirian, but Selwyn can speak for us.
I mean, we cannot get into this, but that instance is pretty reminiscent to a personal experience Rebecca and I have had. And it's just making me chuckle.
So Selwyn went forward as our team captain, and I guess they had the team captains each like draw from the cup to kind of choose their event. And then we finished there for the night because we want to jump right into having enough time to complete the event next session. So we will jump right into the thick of things next session, which will be very exciting. Yeah.
I literally hate these cliffhangers.
We didn't have time to get into it. I was watching the clock and I was like, are we going to be able to? Are we not? Are we going to be able? And yeah, we didn't have time to, which was sad. But
I mean, it's understandable, but it's really just, I feel
and it's even a little bit harder because I'm an hour earlier than everyone else in my group. And so for me, it's not that late at night. And I'm like, no, we can still go. But for them, it's pretty late, actually. So.
And then also considering that you are a night owl, too. You're like, hey, guys, I'm good to go.
3 a.m., no biggie.
That's funny, but also a little disappointing for me. Once again, we get to the end and just no notes, but...
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was good. I feel like you covered ground though. Like you really got a lot of stuff out of the way. Not that hadn't been the case, but like we're actually doing something now, not trying to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah.
I've fully inserted myself. I am.
Yeah, that's fine. You're our little shadow person who follows the party.
I feel like, not that there is any actual influence on it, but I'm like, I don't want to say anything wrong because I might mess everything up, which isn't true at all.
I wish I could have convinced you to like join just for like a one-off thing, because then you could have been our random 6th party member who just got thrown in, and it would have been real fun. But
that would have been really fun, but genuinely it would have been an actual disaster.
One day.
I couldn't even, maybe this is your trial run for like, oh no, well, not that I hope it doesn't work out, but like, remember last time when we really could have used that extra person?
Yeah.
Maybe the pressure will be on later
Yeah.
on down the road, but I don't know. I cannot imagine it going well with me present. Anyways, I take it as a compliment that you would invite me, but it's funny. But yeah, wow. So the games.
Yeah.
I'm excited for them.
Me too.
I feel like this throughout the campaign, I never am that curious about other people, like the other people you encounter, the characters, their plot lines whatsoever, because it's not that relevant. But with this, I want to know like what the other parties, you know, what their backstory is and everything, because I want to be like, I want to be in on the secrets that people are keeping and the motivations behind why.
Right. Yeah, Quinn had kind of been like scouting out. I mean, I don't know this in character, but Quinn had been scouting out what other potential players we saw while at the Bureau of Entertainment.
Yeah.
And I think she'd seen a Tabaxi, who, like the cat people, and a Triton, fish people, and some various other, there was a few, like, I think there was one group that seemed to be 3 younger Fey guys and 3 human guys. So we were like, oh, it's the Feywild boys. It's the equivalent of our friends. So they should be kind of fun. And then in the arena, I think we saw like a team of almost like rock type people. Like, I don't know if they're elementals or like what they are kind of thing, but that could be interesting. I'm sure they've got pretty good strength.
Yeah.
They're made of rocks. So it should be kind of fun to discover what we're up against.
For sure. Yeah. I'm interested.
Yeah.
But you most like, not that like you can predict for sure, but most likely the next session will be the entirety of the game.
I would imagine so. Yeah, I expect we'll try to get it all in one.
That would be helpful for me personally. On a very
take an intermission, maybe.
Yeah. Just keep going. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. We gotta finish.
Do it for toes.
But I mean, then I would feel really bad. Not that. Anyways, moving on.
We would 100% blame you if we had to stay up super late.
Please don't. I am too delicate for that. Wow, I liked it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And it was nice to kind of actually make some plans, like you said, and actually kind of make some ground rather than making plans and changing our mind and doing something else, or our mind being changed for us.
Yeah. Or being like, well, we have to get information on this to get information on this to get information on this. You did it. You got the info.
And at least this way we can like have a little bit of fun before we get back to the craziness that is whatever is going on back on the material plane.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that kind of jumps into like the notes, because you got like info. My notes are, you got game info. Well, you had a little like info session at the very beginning. Not quite enough. You had more later on. But then having Selwyn's mom not reply, like my go-to thought was pretty much like, she's being held captive by the pink-haired man in like a magical like dome of no contact.
We know that the prison blocks contact, right? Like the prison bars obviously prevented magic. We suspect when he was taken down the elevator shaft, when someone had been tracking him, that either he entered somewhere that was blocking magic or was out of range, kind of thing. But these little charm bracelets we have, like, they're useful, but they're also pretty cheap trinkets. Like, they're not hardcore spells. They're pretty light, so they can't get through a whole lot. So.
Yeah. So that makes sense, that potentially why you're not hearing from her. I mean, I still like the theory that she's truly the bad guy. She's like biding her time. She's not getting back to you because she's just waiting for you to appear and catch you off guard.
Just
but
intentionally,
that might not be true. I just wish it was. You presented your potential escape route of the gems.
I think honestly, I didn't want them to choose it at this point. The game sounded kind of fun.
I like the idea of it, but also if you had to use up all your gems and everything, like that's a big gamble for late. I think, like, not off topic, but diversion. If I were to play, I'd be such a hoarder. I would never use any. I'd be like, oh, you died, but somebody more important than you could have might be more important later
That
on.
would be
So
right.
like,
It gives you lots of room for character growth, though. Eventually, your character is just like freely giving away their magical items and spell slots.
I literally, and back on the topic of me not being able to differentiate from a character and my personal self, I'm sorry, I just couldn't. I would let everyone die, suffer, be like,
Yeah.
you never know what will happen later. I'm fully anxiety motivated at all times.
Yeah.
But
It is a struggle.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think not in a good way, though. Some people who are anxiety motivated use their resources, right?
Right.
They're so free with them because it causes so much anxiety. I'm like, no, not important enough.
Might need it.
Anyways, so
I will say, I thought that I misunderstood a part of the robe and a part of the gemstones. I had understood that each one of them was set worth 100 gold. I didn't realize it was up to 100 gold, so it would have been a better plan if they were each worth 100 because it would take fewer of them, obviously.
yeah.
But it still could work, but it could potentially like take literally all of them rather than just 4 of them or whatever.
It's definitely a good backup plan, but hopefully not the one that you need to use.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nice to have a backup plan.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
So that's good.
We're getting better at the plans thing. Not only do we have a plan, but we have a backup plan.
Yeah.
It's going great.
And on that point, you also investigated the teleport spell and all that would entail.
Yeah.
And you found it's pretty accessible, so that's good.
Yeah.
I've made a note of the Starbucks thing. Even though we don't know, like in character, you don't know much that happened. It just reminded me, like at Disney, all the Starbucks, not all of them, but most of them have like different names, right? They're Starbucks, but they have different names. So it just reminded me of that. I thought it was kind of cool. And then you had contract time, really dove into that, which I was grateful for, because my assumption at first was that this was going to be kind of blasé.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's fine. So
I think Caelynn signed his before even like picking it up from the desk, like when she gave it to us. But the rest of us read ours very carefully.
Hopefully his didn't have any alternatives, but I still find out. The jerseys, I really liked that. Those sound cool. It'd be nice to get it in real life, but still.
One day.
Just thinking of it's really cool. That's like, I remember, when we were younger, like those dress up games and all that stuff, and like designing all your like character specifications. That was like the best part. I never liked I was not the child who like played like voices, or which is why I think D&D would be so hard for me. But if you want me to like think up how people will dress and what their this and that's will be, I'm down for it. So I really liked the jersey part. And then I wrote down what are the games, but I think that was because I thought you were getting into what they were going to be, but you didn't really talk about what they're going to be. Do you know?
Not necessarily. It seems like, I don't really have speculation. There's certain ones they said, like some events will need use of a certain weapon and some will need use of other weapons, kind of thing. So obviously there's going to be like some that are more sword based, I guess, or more bow based, maybe some that are like no weapons, just hand to hand or something. But not really sure. Some of the posters on the outside of the building that were moving, like they had someone like hiding and running and stuff. So I don't know if there's like some sneaky stealth stuff happening, but we'll see.
There's a lot of options, right?
Yeah.
It could be like relay type. It could be like a giant, like when you play paintball, right?
Yeah.
There's like kind of like obstacle course, like you kind of move around as a group, but you're also against each other. It could be like very specific what is it? Events at specific times, one after the other. There's a lot of options here.
Yeah. And it sounds like the arena itself can like change to accommodate certain events. So even the fact that it's currently a big grassy field could change to be something else. We'll see.
I'm excited to find out because I have all these ideas. I think that's one part I really like about being completely on the outside. I really do have so many different ideas.
Yeah, I bet.
And then when they are executed in a different, like, I'm never disappointed or anything because my expectation is obviously I know that I'm not have any control, but I really like the time period between when I get to think like, oh, I wonder what it's gonna be, and then finding out. Exactly. It's like little surprises because then there's moments of stuff where I obviously never even considered, which is most of the time, and I'm like, oh, how exciting! So I like that. So I guess we'll find out what the games are as they're happening.
I'm super curious.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And then you had a little magical yurt sleepover.
Yeah.
And then some game prep. And you're about to jump into it.
Yeah. Suspenseful.
Yeah. I mean, there was also some communication with outsiders. You found out some info. Oh, that was whatever.
Blase.
It's not that significant in the moment anymore. Well, I guess, it was significant in that moment. It's no longer significant in this moment.
And we had no creepy futures predicted because we were in the same day. Although it just occurred to me that they used the sample one that day. So they could have technically used it, the ones that they bought that day. They didn't. You can only use it day.
Good. I'm glad they didn't use it. They scared me.
Maggie tried to, like, not necessarily convince me, but like, are you sure you don't want to look like maybe you'll get a better future? And I was like, no, no thanks.
I'm good.
Because even if it is a good future, if it's just like random predictions of potential futures, it's just as likely to happen being good as it is likely to happen being bad. It's still like completely random, essentially.
I wonder if that's like a personality thing. Because like in real life, I would want to know if things are good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Also, you can't blame stuff on things when you know. I think I am a really messed up person. Oh my gosh. I take no accountability for my life whatsoever.
Well, if you have the fortune telling, then you can blame it on the fortune and not being able to avoid it.
Yeah.
It was predicted, so
I guess so. But that seems like more work. Like, life is already so hard. I don't need more work. But I do understand that perspective. And I think I could easily end up agreeing with that one as well.
So. I'm curious to see if we get any good futures out of the ones that they bought.
I'm not that curious, but
I don't think we've actually like shared them with the group amongst the people who actually saw. So we should ask what people saw so we can all be scared together. We can all fear all the futures that everyone saw.
Well, maybe did Ava see something? Maybe that's why she's being so
scared. No, I think everybody except me looked, if I remember correctly, from the week prior. Mm-hmm. They all saw sketchy things.
Yeah, well, let them sit in that themselves.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I like it. I mean, there's never a time where I haven't been excited for the next session, but I'm very interested to see how this goes because it really, like, there's nothing saying that you guys are going to do well, but there's also absolutely nothing saying that it's going to go poorly. Really.
Yeah.
Like, you're not currently
it's different from, like, a real fight because there's no, like, there's not really anger or danger behind it, really, because it is, I mean, there's still danger, but it's a game situation, so it's kind of fun.
There's no, like, consequences that are irreversible.
Yes, exactly.
That's good. And it'll be good to work together without having the stress of like, somebody might die.
Yep.
I mean, somebody still might die, but they get to go back.
We've got some healing potions now, so hopefully that'll be good.
I like it a lot. It's very interesting.
Yep. We shall uncover it next week. I expect that'll be the whole of what session is, really. Just gamesing.
It's kind of good though that you have so much going on and so much that you have to get to in time, because it's not like once this ends you're gonna be like, oh, what do we do next?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is over. We gotta
deal with the real
going.
world stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and we'll find out if our delay actually did cause the end of the world.
yeah. I am confused about the time. Like
Yeah.
Not that I expected it to be more than 4 days, but or 3 days, I guess. But 3/4.
Yeah.
But it just feels like, how could you possibly have fit everything you did in that amount of time?
Right? It does feel like it's been whiplash last 3 days of a lot going on.
Like, is that good for your body? What if you guys all just like drop from exhaustion suddenly without
We're
any
getting
warning?
our long rests. We're getting our rests in.
But are you? Like, how?
Yeah. We have to. Our overnights. If we don't get long rests, we don't get spell slots and things back. Okay. So we have to choose. I think it's like 6 to 8 hours, something like that. You have to have a set amount of rest time allotted, or you don't get to recover certain features.
That's literally why my life's falling apart.
Somebody. Those long rests in.
It's a lot easier said than done.
It is. For sure.
No. Well, that's good. I'm glad that is a what is it? Like, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, should we roll some dice?
Yep. We had some pretty poor dice rolls the past 2 times.
We did. So
it was convenient after rolling 20 to just everything fall apart.
Yeah, you kind of expected it to all fall apart before the 20, and the 20 was like redemption, but really not.
No, where it was like, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is great, this is all so bad. Anyways, I don't even remember what one.
Me neither.
Let's go for green.
Green.
And we can bring things back.
Come on, green, do it. 13.
Okay, we're
lucky number 13.
We're in the double digits again, at least. Is 13 a lucky number?
I mean, it's debated to be lucky or unlucky.
Yeah,
depends on what culture you're talking to.
I think it's more unlucky than it is lucky.
I think more cultures consider it unlucky. We're gonna call it lucky.
Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. Woo! Lucky number 13!
Yay!
Well, thank you for listening.
Yes.
It was a good time, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we'll be back on Saturday, actually.
Oh, yes.
A Campaign 2 episode. So.
Which,
join us for dinosaurs. Spoilers.
It's been hinted that it is a doozy.
Yeah.
So, exciting. We will be back soon.
Yay! Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Now this is a story all about how my D&D parties came about. And I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there, and I'll tell you this week's adventure of a Bard and Ranger.